Hey everybody, Lance here again. Up to this point, we've been talking about having this Zoom room in your actual classroom. You walk in, you pair, you do your thing. What I'd like to do is take a step back from that because in some of your environments, your Zoom room is going to be in a shared space. And you may be using it for IEP meetings, you may be using it for 504 meetings, speech pathology, school board meetings, what have you. So how do I schedule that room and reserve it so that when I go in there, I'm ready to fire off that meeting? Let's talk about this for a second, but here's the challenge. Some of you are probably using Google Calendaring for resources and reservations. Some of you are probably using O365. So I'm going to do both, not to confuse you, but just so that we can kind of explore both. And depending on which one it works for you, and in some of your schools, you're using both. So let's give it a shot. I'm going to bring this up. Here's my Google Calendar. We're going to call this one, let's call it the test one. All right. Now I'm going to get more options here real quickly. We're going to make this bad boy a Zoom meeting. And if you've got external people that are going to join, what you're going to do is type their email addresses right here. Maybe it's the parents for those IEP meetings. Maybe it's a remote school board member who couldn't be there physically on site for the meeting or something like that. You can add them here. Then in Google, you have this area called rooms. And so I'm going to type in the room that I'll actually be using and we'll hit save. All right. So we got that. Now let's roll over here to our O365 and pop this up. And I'm going to call this one the test, the test 2. Right? Once I get that, we got the test 2. Again, we want to make it a Zoom meeting. So we're adding the Zoom meeting. Now, I'm kind of interested. We're a Google shop, so I have to use Google authentication, even though I'm scheduling in O365. So that's what you're seeing here. It's now been added. Now, unlike the Google side of the house, there's not a Rooms tab. You have to be able to type the email address or know the email address of the room you're reserving. So we're doing that. Once again, any people you want to add, all that sort of stuff is here. You add them in that participants list. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to hit send. Now, we've got both those sent, both different platforms, the test 1 and the test 2. Well, let's go check it out. So the first one that we have, this guy right here, the test 1, there it is scheduled. I'm going to close this so you can see what it looked like on the screen. There's the test 1 with a big blue join button, right? You walk in, you click it. Over here, wake this up. Off the screensaver for a split second. We have the test and the number 2, and I'm sorry it's washed out. I know it's hard to see, but once again, blue button. So whether it's O365 or whether I'm using Google, either one will work. Now here's the kicker. Some of the times, like for board meetings, I've got board members who are a little technophobic, who may not necessarily want to mash a button to start a meeting. So your Zoom rooms can be scheduled so that they automatically start at the appropriate time. The other thing I would say is if you're going to use that room maybe for wireless sharing or maybe recording something and you don't necessarily need a Zoom meeting, on either of those two platforms, if I hadn't said make it a Zoom meeting, it would have reserved the space on the calendar, but there would be no join button for anything. The join button is there because I made it a Zoom meeting. So you can still use this to reserve those spaces, either way it goes. I hope this has been helpful. I think maybe I have one more thing, and then I'll be done with you guys. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.